2022, right? Whew, I thought 2020 was a rough year. Um, the pandemic, the lockdown, everything going on. Uh, my wife and I, we lived together, and her two of her three kids had to move in with us in a little two-bedroom apartment because of said pandemic and said lockdown. Her grandchild, her son, the one child that didn't move in with us, but the mother of her grandchild kind of went a little batshit, and my wife needed to step up for this kid, and this kid came to live with us, all in this little two-bedroom apartment. And I was going nuts. These kids didn't have jobs, they didn't have anything to do. And the two-bedroom apartment was the bottom floor of this like 130-year-old house in North Wilmington, Delaware. Talk about history. It was a really cool house to walk through, and it had been converted, and all the floors had been separated and turned into these, apartments through a private owner. And then uh, the two daughters were going out next to the fire pit, and they were drinking a little bit, and the one daughter would get very, very loud, and sound carried across these few yards back there. And one of the ladies that lived back there was this kind of waspy, kind of older lady who had nothing better to do but complain to the township constantly about other people. And she just wanted to take like other people's problems and feel better about her own and go file a complaint with the township and with whoever and try to get people in trouble. And she filed a complaint with the township about noise, and they contacted our landlord. And the one daughter got kicked out of the downstairs apartment and actually had to move directly into our apartment with us. The other daughter and the grandkid already lived with us. And then the landlord, also to cut off any further trouble, kicked us all out. We all had to move. Now, my wife is a registered nurse at a major, major surgery center around here. And at any rate, we find a townhouse. We all moved into the townhome, and I'm still kind of miserable, man. These kids are around all the time. They don't understand respect. And I don't know. I never thought I grew up in like a nice atmosphere or knew, quote unquote, how to act or how to act right. Um, Apparently I kind of act right all the time, and these kids did not, and it was driving me nuts having to live with them, and I was literally kind of going out of my mind. And I had gotten fired from my job. I worked at a retail job at Staples, and they did not prepare for the pandemic and store business being slowed down and closing stores and all kinds of stuff. So they just let me go because I was a relatively new employee. And I had to be around these kids in this life. We were around each other all the time. Now, I was on a submarine in the Navy for 5 years, but I still wasn't prepared to be in an 800 square foot two-bedroom apartment with two other kids who just think completely half my age and differently than me and weren't respectful, and it was such a pain in the ass. So at any rate, we are all in this townhome, and I start this new job, and I start doing very well at this new job. It's a sales job, traveling around, and I'm selling whole home water filtration systems. So it was kind of cool. It was about water, and I get to kind of promote health and that little aspect of, hey, what I'm doing is right in the world, because I was certainly at that time wasn't healthy. I smoked cigarettes for 30 years, and I was about 50 pounds heavier, 60 pounds heavier, so I was extremely overweight compared to where I am now. But I was doing very well, and I came home between appointments because of all things, and I think everyone here may understand this. maybe some people don't care. And I get that they're out there and they just, wherever you got to go, you got to go. I had to go to the bathroom, and I don't like going to the bathroom in public stalls and public toilets. I just don't. And I knew if I went home, I could get home, I'd have about 15 minutes to myself, and then I could get my stuff. I could I could get my shit and go back to work, right? Pun intended. Um, I go home and I go to put my stuff on the desk, and I look over on my wife's computer and I see Facebook Messenger up, and there's some text back and forth. And to make a long story short, I found out that she was cheating on me, and that she had been cheating on me for 6 months, which, albeit we're like 8 years into a relationship, we had just gotten married a year before. So I'm doing the math, and I'm not the best maths guy in the world, but 6 plus 6 equals 12, and there's only 12 months in a year. And I'm sitting there going, hold on, why the fuck did you do it? Like, what, why, why did you do him, or why did you do me? But why did you do either? Like, your timing's all messed up. And I ended up moving out into this apartment, and I went in this search at 44 years old, 43, starting to be 43, 44 years old, to try and find myself. And man, I was just lost. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know where to go. I went back to trying to hang on to things that I did when I was 25 years old, and it just wasn't the same anymore. And I didn't really know what to do. And I started going a little crazy in my head. And I was a traveling sales guy. So I met people on appointments, but I didn't meet anybody in my area. I didn't meet anybody where I was at. I didn't meet any new love interests. It was at the ass end of masks and a pandemic and a lockdown. And we all know how that shit went. I mean, that's hell, probably why this group here started a couple years ago, if I had to guess. So I started talking to her again. And then we ended up dating again. And then we're together and we're talking for about 8 months, something along those lines around there. And somewhere towards the end of last year, we got into a huge fight one night after she spent the night, and we just essentially stopped talking. And then one day, um, I come to, and I look around and I see nothing but white walls and weird equipment around me and hanging from the ceiling, and I don't really know or understand what's going on. And I remember seeing some of this stuff, and then I remember having the craziest dreams and the craziest things going on in my mind that I don't even know how to explain them. They were somehow partially based in reality, a very small percentage, but not a large percentage, not an immense amount of it. As I walked myself through them, was based in reality, and I realized that I was dreaming, but I didn't really understand it or them or why or goings ons and things happening. And I remember a nurse shaking me and saying, Michael, we have a phone call for you. I remember going, "Hey, who is it?" And they said, "It's your wife." And I said, "Holy shit, is she okay? Is she okay? Is my wife okay?" And I remember the nurse kind of laughed a little, but not like at me, but kind of just at the situation for some reason, was the vibe I got. And I didn't know. And he hands me the phone, and I answer the phone, and it's my wife, Claire. She's there. And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "Hey, baby, I love you. How are you doing?" And I was like, I'm okay. I'm in clunk clunk, little bit by little bit. And boy, do I mean slowly. I mean like hours by hours. One little thought or one little realization would click into place, but one of them started right there. And I told her on the phone, I said, "I'm in the hospital." And she said, "Yeah, you are." And I don't remember the rest of that conversation, but I remember waking up days later and I found out I was in a really, really bad car accident in South Jersey on a Sunday. I was going to a pool hall to meet a friend of mine to shoot some pool. And then we were probably going to go get a bite to eat at Applebee's or, something afterwards. And I was going to come home. And I was driving behind two cars on a one lane road, and the lead car like missed its turn and stopped short. And the other person ran off into the shoulder. And I didn't want to hit anybody because I'm a nice guy. Like, I was a sailor on a submarine for 5 years, and the F word is hands down my favorite word in the English language. And I'm from that fucking place called North Jersey, but I'm still the nicest guy in the world. I will literally give you the shirt off my back if I have nothing less, as long as it's not like my nicest shirt in my closet. But I might even give you that one too. And it really blew my mind. But I realized that I had nowhere else to go. And I went off on the side of the road because I didn't want to hit anybody, but there was no more road to go on. I went off into the grass, and I was in a rental car. I wasn't even in my car, which was my dream car, which is a little teeny sporty hatchback. Uh, at any rate, I was in this big boat of a Nissan Maxima full-size sedan driving down the road, and I had nowhere to go, and I wasn't going to hit somebody else. And I went off in the side of the road, and I slid a little as my front tires, I guess I should put the car this way, but my front tires started to turn as it went off the road. The whole car turned, and then I just went bam right into the tree. And I hit the tree right where the front left tire is. So just in front of where I was driving. And this tree, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was a California redwood, that it was, 3,000 years old or something ludicrous. But when I tell you I'm 6 foot, I'm 180 pounds now, I couldn't have hugged maybe but half of this tree if I had outstretched my arms and given it a big old hug. And that car hit in the police report, the accident report, it was looking back up the road from where I came. But almost all of that force went into the line of sight, as we would say in the Navy. You have across your line of sight and into your line of sight. And it was almost all in my line of sight axis. And I broke 22 bones in my body, and I had a traumatic brain injury, and I lost all my hair. What's up, Sean? Nice haircut. I'm just kidding. I lost all my hair way, way before that. But I had a traumatic brain injury, and for 3 days, they didn't know if I was ever going to come back. And then they decided to keep me under medically to perform all the operations and surgeries that they needed to wrap up and finish, because I needed quite a few. I destroyed 3 appendages of my body. I'm waving to you with my left hand, left arm. This is the only good one. I have a scar. I don't doubt anyone can see it, but it goes from down here on my right arm all the way up to here on my right arm. And that's just from one side of my wrist. I have more scars and screws over here on this side. I destroyed my knee and my right ankle because, of course, where were they? They were just jammed into the brake pedal. So if anybody ever is about to get into an accident, I don't care how fast you're going. They tell you this in NASCAR to do this. And I grew up watching that crap. But if you're ever about to hit something, you do the lift, right? When you're about to hit, you let go and you lift your legs up a little bit. I messed my right side up a lot worse than I messed my left side up. But I have plates and screws in my right leg, and 3 screws in my right ankle, and really messed up my right ankle. I broke my left leg, 5 toes, or I should say 5 metatarsals just above my toes in my left leg. And I got some 2 fancy scars on my head. And we're not done yet. So it still even gets more weird. Do I still have a couple more minutes? If I don't, Sean, if I'm out of time, like if you just make a
No, no, no. Normally, I would say yeah, but hey, let's hear it to the end, bro. Let's hear it to the
all right,
end.
all right. So I wake up in this hospital and like I said, I had these crazy dreams, and then I can kind of start to tell, and realize in my conscious mind, like, okay, I'm in reality and trying to merge all this together. And then boom, they pumped me out of the hospital into a rehab center. And during the time I was in that hospital for that 3, 4 weeks, my wife worked there literally around the corner in the operating room. She's coming to see me and talk to me and lunch every day that she works. And she's bringing me stuff from my apartment. And she's coming and talking to me and just hanging out with me. And she's giving me kisses and telling me she loves me. And I kind of get this feeling like, oh man, we're back together again, or things are great, or things are perfect. Like, I don't know what is going on, but I'm kind of coming around and I'm just happy to have anybody because I have my mom who lives 2 hours south of me, and I have a 18-year-old daughter who goes to college in Scotland, of all places. She doesn't go to college at Florida A&M. She goes to college in Scotland, a completely different country. It was COVID. None of my friends could come and visit me. Not that I had any friends in my immediate home area, but I did have some down near where my mom lived, but nobody could come visit me. And all I saw was my wife, my beautiful wife. And it was literally like I met her on day one, 10 years earlier, all over again. I'd forgotten, but maybe vaguely remembered, but forgotten, but vaguely remembered that she cheated on me and that I moved out. And I was kind of aware of that. And uh, at any rate, I was right back in the marriage again. And I went to this rehab center, and that was a little further south and still not where my mom was. It was kind of in a midpoint between. And I saw my wife less and less often for the few weeks that I was at the rehab center. And when I did see her, she was nice, but I could tell that there was something different in the behavior. Now, my parents had me when they were a little towards the old side, but my mom is 80 years old, and I just turned 45 in April. And I had to go stay at her house in February of this year. And here I was back at mom's house, back in this room. And my mom and I, we were completely different ages, completely different lifestyles. My mom is literally just trying to live the rest of her life and go meet Jesus. And she is not the most active person. And she looks for a relaxing and easy and lazy way to kind of a shortcut to everything she has to do around her house and in life. Right. And I am stuck in this bed in her spare bedroom, and I can't leave. And then my wife is coming down and seeing me, but every couple weeks she's making the hour and a half drive and coming and seeing me. And I kind of pick up on some things, but that I think she is not acting the same way that she was for me weeks and weeks ago. And to make a long story short, on the day I was supposed to walk again, she broke up with me via a text message. The day that I walked again on a walker. And here I was thinking I had to have her back and like begging her to be with me. And what's that word? Proselytizing or proselytizing myself toward at her, towards her, for her, wanting to be with her again, just wanting love, man, love and acceptance. And all my friends have, of all ages, down into their 20s, they've grown older, they have families, they're not dropping by to see me, but every so often. And it was crazy, man. It was just really, really crazy. And I've never been that, oh my God, beg with me, stay with me, clingy type of person, but I was with her, and especially because of this accident. July 2nd, I moved back up north to my 1 bedroom apartment. I'm still dealing with physical therapy 3 times a week. That's been my whole year, has been physical therapy. I'm still having trouble walking, but I can drive. I can get myself around. I can still go to the grocery store and do what I need to do. I still wake up, and there may be one of you, maybe none of you, but maybe one of you is sitting there going, that dude is still smiling and like still personable and still told a joke a couple times throughout this story. And I'm just trying to stay kind of like, I don't know, maybe it was in Oh Brother Where Art Thou, maybe it was one of those old timey songs, but I'm just trying to keep it on the sunny side of life. I realize now that that accident is probably a blessing, and it's probably going to be something that I look forward to later on in life and realize like, hey, I wouldn't be where I am without hitting that tree doing about 60, 65 miles an hour. And there's a lot I've left out. You know, I've trimmed this story down by quite a bit. I know we're all in the interest of time, you know, but I could literally go into details and talk for hours about everything that I've been through this year. And I've tried not to get too depressed and try not to go too crazy in my loneliness, but I'm still here. I'm still surviving. And I still found you sons of bitches as a group on Meetup to come and check out and hear some shit about some stories being told. So thanks for listening. But that is MJ Walters 2022
MJ
in a
Walters
nutshell.
speaking in the third person, which we always love. Wow. Well, I have a question, if I may ask. Let me remove the spotlight so it's not awkward. Well, you had said you wanted to maybe tell a story, you hadn't figured it out. This is an open mic, so there's no like feedback. Nobody's going to tell you, good job. That's not. But I'm curious because you were hesitant and then you did it. So what's it like to hop on Zoom? I don't know if it's something you do with any regularity. Tell a story, tell what you just told to a group of mostly strangers. Like, is that weird? Does that feel weird now?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. The only people I've ever really talked to about this and let in, even though I'm not the most private guy in the world, but they've all been close friends.
Right. Yeah. It's a different thing, man, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's cool because I don't really fear the judgment. But it is interesting when I look up and down the gallery and I'm like, man, I'm over here doing my thing, telling everyone all this shit, and I don't know anybody on here. So,
I think
it is awesome.
Sometimes it feels easier for me to do it with strangers, stranger on the train type thing, you know, as opposed to people I kind of know. It feels a little bit more like,
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That's a hell of a year, man.
Thank you. And like I started, I thought 2020 was kind of crazy, but 2022 ended up being the craziest year that I've ever been through in my entire friggin' life. So.
I love the fact that you made it clear that there was a lot more you could share, which I totally get. And I love the fact that you several times in your story said long story short. I love that. Because you were aware, and I'm totally fine with it. You're cognizant of like, oh, this is like this is pretty long. I love it. This is a chill group, so we're good. But I think it was cool. Like you're aware of it, but you're keeping going, which is cool. Like you had something to say.
Look, Shawshank Redemption was a great movie, right?
3 hours.
Phenomenal movie. Everyone knows that movie. It's a 3.5-hour movie.
Yeah.
It was an 88-page short story written by Stephen King.
What's the connection you are making in your story? Tell me that.
Right. But I just wanted to make sure that I was not expounding because I could. Sure. This has been Jesus, it's October. This has been I'm 6 days shy of this being a 10-month experience for me.
Yeah.
And when I tell you time slows down and starts going slow when you're doing nothing but laying in a bed, or your
Yeah.
pain is so bad that you don't want to get out of bed. So you only do the basics and you go back to bed.
Yep.
You have nothing to do but think about this stuff and
Yep.
add to the story and add more thought to the story. So yeah, I might write a book about it one day, because I probably could write 300 or 400 pages about it easy.
Linda knows somebody in Hollywood who can make a movie out of it too.
From what I hear, she knows like
She
someone who's
knows
a
she has some
screenwriter
connections
and
in
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, cousins, if I
Tinseltown.
remember correctly. So
Oh, I would. The last thing I want to tell you, and this is going to sound a little snobby, so just know that I am an absolute personal narrative story geek. If you are looking on YouTube or elsewhere for inspiration, just know who you're looking at,
okay.
because some people know what they're doing and some people don't. And I want you to be able to just move in the right direction. That sounds weird because I know earlier a few people were like, just be authentic, right? Be honest. But then there's also the real craft part, which you expressed like you were aware of. So I don't think
And
there's one right way to do it, but there are ways that I think generally are more, what's fill in the blank, effective, compelling, etc. Right?
understood and agreed.
Yeah.
And I don't find that snobby at all. I find that that's the difference between getting the help from a pro or a semi-pro and then trying to get help from just the guy you're sitting next to. So
No, I
or
mean, yeah,
person you're sitting next to. So I
there's
understand.
definitely people out there that are amazing, but there's also a lot that, like anything else, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
cool, man. Thanks again for that. I do, without at the expense of sounding a little trite, I hope your year gets a little better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's already getting better. So thank you. But yes, thank you.
Yeah. Hello, Dan. Hello, Erica. Hello, Lou. Does anybody else have stories that they would like to share? It's a light night, not light in who's here, but story wise, which is cool. And I wanted to say this earlier. Hey, oh, cool. Shelli, yes, I want to say to anybody who might be a little bit like, well, I don't have a story, but I might have some stuff I want to talk about. Given that it's an open mic and given the stuff we're talking about, sort of broadly speaking, mental health, don't sweat if it's a story or not. Just share what you want to share, because it's an opportunity and a bridge to have these conversations that I think are rather important. All right, Erica, and did I see, is it Shelli? Am I saying your name right, Shelli? Sorry. Do you have a story, Shelli?
I do.
Oh, fantastic. I love, this is to you and to MJ, new folks jumping in and trying it out. I don't know if you've done this before, but either way, it's great.
Well, I was inspired. It's like, that's a tall act to follow, but okay.
Okay.
So let me get the tail out of the way. So the brain is a really, really weird critter, even weirder than a cat. And I had just come to this country and I was pregnant with my first child, and I was in Boston, Massachusetts. And there was this news event all over the place. And it was about this guy who murdered his pregnant wife. And you couldn't not hear about it. And it was just everywhere. And there was one night I'm asleep. And as I said, I'm very pregnant with my first child, my daughter. And I'm fast asleep and I have a dream. And in my dream, I die. And I'm lying in the street and I know I'm dead, but I'm there. And just like in the movies, there's this guy going, I'm a doctor, let me through. And I'm looking at him and I'm feeling really excited and hopeful. And he starts mucking about with a pulse and and mouth to mouth. And I know I'm dead. And I'm at his shoulder and I'm going, leave it alone. Take out Danielle. And he's ignoring me. And I get more and more frantic. And I'm grabbing him by the shoulders and I'm shaking him as hard as I can. And I'm going, leave it alone. Take out Danielle. And he's ignoring me. And I am panic stricken. And I wake up in a cold sweat. And my husband and I are both grad students. You have to understand, this is the late 80s. The only people who had access to internet were academics and big businesses, right? It was not a household thing. And I wake up in a cold sweat and I wake him up and I say, Ronan, go to the office and find out how long can the baby survive after the mother dies. And he goes, I say, go. And he looks at me in horror and he gets up and he gets dressed and he goes and he comes back and he gives me the answer, whatever the answer was. I don't even remember. And he looks at me and he shakes his head and he says to me, you need help. And the memory of this dream has been with me for over 3 decades. And to this day, when I think of the dream, my palms get sweaty. Fast forward 30 something years later, and I'm watching a movie based on a true story. And it's the story about this couple in Boston where the guy murdered his pregnant wife and blamed a black guy, and I know exactly what they're talking about. And I'm there all over again. And then suddenly I realized they said the year was 1990. And I go, but Danielle was born in 1988. Jonathan was born in 1990. So I have 3 decades of this vivid, visceral dream. And a lot of it is true. But just the little piece was wrong. I wasn't pregnant with Danielle. I was pregnant with Jonathan. And I wonder if I'll ever be able to trust my brain again. 3 decades. I was so sure. Don't think I can.
Shelli's in Durham. That's my neck of the woods, y'all. That's how we roll here in North Carolina. Thank you,
All
Shelli.
over the place.
Shelli wasn't going to tell a story, was inspired by presumably Linda or MJ or both. She told the story. That's what I love. That's great, man. That's great. May I don't want to be weird. I'm just because you're local. Not your address, because then I sound like a stalker, but what part of Durham are you in?
The best part, I'm around the corner from Googlehoff, Q Shack.
Yeah, you're not far from me. I'm near 40 and 15501, but I'm Chapel Hill. Yeah. But I like that area. That's cool.
You're a wannabe Durhamite.
Yeah, well, sure. But every time I go to this is not fun for anybody who's not from the Triangle. I get it. But every time I go to that place, it's like an hour wait at Google Poofle. I'm not cool enough to go there.
Is outside of my budget, but
right.
Other places within
cool, chic, young Duke student professors paying $20 for a cafe latte con something. Well, it was really cool to hear that story. That was really interesting. Really interesting. Wow. Really interesting. Just so you all know. Cool, Beryl. Typically what we do, because everything I do in any storytelling event we have, the stories are almost always vehicles for other things like a conversation. They're not really an end in and of themselves. So I invite you, if time and energy allow, after the stories, to hang out and talk about or learn more about what people shared. Now, that's not an invitation to be weird about it and try to like, nobody's here to get diagnosed with anything or for you to have them fix them or any of that shit. If you saw the event description, I talk about that all the time. And I know people know it, but I always talk about it because it's really just, hey, you told an interesting story. I'm curious about this. I don't mean to speak to you like you're kindergartners. I know you know this, but it's just a friendly reminder. Because I have been in spaces where that shit happens. I'm like, no, that's not cool. Don't do that. Please. All right. So we've got Margaret and Erica and maybe Beryl. Maybe even Beryl is going to join us. That would be great. Margaret, I can see you. I want to spotlight you with your permission.
Don't spotlight me, man.
Don't spotlight Margaret. But Margaret, I want to know just if you're comfortable. Are you in North Carolina?
Oh, hell no. No. I'm in Chicago, basically.
Oh, Margaret Daly in Chicago. Now, I must ask, Margaret, with your last name being in Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. They'd spell it wrong with an E. So I'm the real way to spell it, just so you know.
Oh, but you're not with them.
Sadly, no.
You're not
That's
in that core group of Daly legacy type human beings.
Let me tell you, it helps though. Getting into certain restaurants, it helps.
No.
It's not a bad thing.
All right. Well, Margaret, I appreciate you jumping in and wanting to tell a story. So whenever you're ready, just the stage is yours.
Okay. So it's 10 o'clock and the phone rings and it's my mother. And she says, "Where's your sister?" I said, "I don't know. She's supposed to be there. She's supposed to be there at the hospital to pick my mother up on September 11th at 10 in the morning because my mother's coming back from getting her leg chopped off. And my sister is her helpmeet. My sister spends a lot of time with her. And that's because she wants to ignore her own family of her young son and her husband who live a couple miles away. But my sister doesn't answer. I call. My mother says, "You got to find her." I said, "Okay, I'll go over there." I go over to my mother's house. It's 5 blocks away. Drive up, because let's face it, I'm not walking if there's some kind of emergency situation here. And I drive up and I know immediately as soon as I pull into the driveway, there's something wrong. The porch light's still on. My sister's car is in front. She should have left. So I go up to the front door, and it's one of those old school front doors with the glass on them, which always freaked me out when I was a kid, because all you have to do is punch through it and open the door. And I look in the door, and there's a lace curtain over it, but I can see my sister, and there she is slumped in a chair. And I say, "God, she's a lazy ass." So my heart pumps a little bit harder, but I open the door. And I see her there in that chair. And yes, she's sitting there. And I know something's wrong because it's on NBC. It's on Channel 5. It's on NBC. And in the morning, we're an ABC family. It's all about Good Morning America. And she's looking at some dumbass Today Show. And I know from that, there's something wrong. I go up to her and I'm scared now. And her skin is weird. But she's been known to drink or take a pill. So I think she's just having one of her nights. And then I go in the kitchen and the water's still on and the oven's still on and there's a frozen burrito sitting next to the oven. And then I say to myself, "Look, you got to deal with this. There's something wrong." So I go up to her and I realize she's not moving. And I yell at her. I say, "Get up. You're supposed to be at the hospital." She doesn't move. She's just that lazy. So I yell at her some more. I say, "Ma's waiting for you. Get up." And I leave the house. I shut the door and I scream over in the car and grab my husband. He's in the alley helping a neighbor. I said, "Get in the car. My sister's dead." And I didn't know it, but I thought strongly that something had to happen. So we went in there. I said, "Touch her, feel her pulse." Nothing. She's gone. And in that very moment, I realized I had to pull myself together and be the adult, because there are no adults here except me. And my sister's 8 years older than me, but I'm still an adult. And I look on the table and I see bottles of morphine. And I look on the floor by the couch and I see my sister's cell phone thrown on the floor. And I do a quick check and I say to myself, okay, call 911 and then we'll call the family. So we call 911, they're there in a trice. The guy comes in, pumps her, paddles her, feels her pulse, and looks at me. She's gone. And I'm still pissed off. I'm still pissed off because now I'm left holding everything. Now I'm left with all of the threads to pull together. But I do it. And I call my aunt, my uncle, my kids, and her husband. And when he answers, I say, she's gone. He said, what do you mean she's gone? I said, she's gone. Your wife is gone. What do you mean she's gone? I said, she's deceased. You have to come here. And what then transpired was me counting all the pills, realizing she had 3 different prescriptions from 3 different pharmacies of morphine. I counted the pills, a significant number were gone. I called the hospital where she had been treated for chronic pain. And I said, my sister's dead. Do you want to sign the death certificate? And no, they did not. And no, they did not. So off my sister went on that sunny September 11th afternoon stretcher with a blanket over her face. Husband came in, believe it, the dog, as she was leaving, didn't know who she was. I had to literally, guy, look, she's not back. He said, no, it's coming back. I said, no. And then is when I realized that I had to tell my mother. The family was with me. They came in the car with me, pushed me into the room, and let me say, Ma, she's gone. She said, what the hell do you mean she's gone? I said, your daughter is gone. She's not coming back. And my mother sat there swinging her one leg on the side of the bed and said, God damn it. God damn it, Margaret. So what then happened was me trying to coax somebody into signing a death certificate. That was refused. An autopsy was effected because of that. And I started what any normal person does in any normal family, which we were not. I started putting the funeral together. And is this a suicide? Is this an accidental overdose? We don't know. But I go to the priest and I say, my sister's dead. And he hugs me and he said, okay, let's put this together. And then I'm on easy street because I've got things to do. I've got programs to make. I've got flowers to order, sandwiches to make. Everything's easy now. It's all set up. And I do it. And my daughter sings with me and I play my instrument. I'm a cellist. We play and we sing a beautiful Irish lament. And nobody in our family is crying. And the neighbor from across the street sees my sister lying there in the dress that I chose for her and had to cut up the back because it didn't fit her. And she started crying. And then I realized what was going on. We just lost my sister tragically to what eventually would be called a suicide. And then I finally started to cry. And then I realized that in any family, mental health is a joint concern. And you have to hold on for dear life to hold on to any shred of sanity that you might have. And that's how I got through that time. And to this day, I'm still holding on. The end.
Yeah, wow. Thanks, Margaret.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow. All right. As a host, I'm supposed to like connect the dots, you know, I have to sort of say something about the story and then I'm not very good at that. I'm just like, whoa. It's not, it doesn't make for great TV, admittedly. Like, damn. Daly just brought it, is what she did. She's like, I'm not holding back. I'll tell you some stuff. Deal with it. You want to deal with it? Cool. If not, sorry.
Yeah, I should have been more considerate. Sorry.
No. That wasn't me saying that at all. I like the rawness of it all. I really do. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Do we by chance know some of the same people in Chicago? I know Mr. Dan the Man is here. He's in Chicago.
Yeah, we know him. We know him well. Yeah.
Oh, we know Dan. Yeah, I know Dan. Do Steph, any of those people? Mara, and okay. That's cool. Dan's a good man.
He
got-
brings it. Yeah.
He has blue or green hair ish. Yep.
On any day. Yeah. Different shade on any given day.
Dan
yeah.
also has a group that sorry, can I say this, Dan, about your group? I don't know much about it, but because I've got my own group, but Dan Boyd here has got a group that meets regularly for feedback. Kind of had a cool format too. 17 minutes, do whatever you want with it, which means like you got a 7-minute story, you can get 10 minutes of feedback. You got an 11-minute story, you get 6 minutes of feedback. Tell me if I'm wrong, Dan. Just unmute yourself. Be like, Sean, shut the fuck up. You don't know my shit. I got it. I got the thumbs up.
Guess who's in that group?
Margaret Daly.
Let's know it.
Yeah, well, you're doing good work, both of you. So I appreciate it. Really very much. All right, cool. We've got, it looks like we have 2 more bold human sentient beings here who have stories. And of course, if anybody else wants to tell a story, we've got time. And then again, after we'll talk a little bit. And that might be about the stories. It could also turn a little bit into craft. It's an open mic, so typically we don't get too much into like feedback stuff. But if someone has questions, whether it's for me or someone else, we could go there as well. Let us bring to the mic Ms. Erica out in the great state of California, which I don't know if you guys know this. If I gave you all 3 guesses, I wonder if you could get this correct. And Erica, you can't answer this. The animal that's on the flag of California. I'll just start by saying it's not a dog and it's not a cat. Does anybody want to just quickly unmute and tell me what the animal is?
The bear.
Well, everybody knows. It's the worst trivia question ever. If everyone knows.
Bear.
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 Everyone knows. I thought I was the shit. That I was only one of a few people outside of California that knew this. Apparently, almost everyone knows. What you don't know is what's on the state flag of North Carolina. Do you? Does anybody? Because you know what?
Badger.
Bird.
No, well, it's all possible, but I have no fucking idea. So you might all be right. I don't know, Shelly, can you help me out here?
Do we have an animal on our flag?
We
And that is, I know there's a banner.
Yeah, I don't even know if I've ever seen the flag.
Sweetie, I am what they call in these parts a damn foreigner. And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter that I've been here since 1998.
Yeah, there's no animal.
There's no animal.
No.
Well, some of our local politicians are admittedly animal-esque, but that's a whole different conversation and show. And you could say that about any. That's a cheap shot because that's, you could just pick on people. What is that? What do we got? Oh, it's so boring. Give me a bear. Give me I don't know. Give me a dragon. Give me a python. What's the snake in North Carolina? That copperhead, right? That would be a cool. Give me a copperhead. Give me a something in the water. I don't know. Anyway, if you're, yeah, I think my brain just spazzed out. Erica Blumfield is here. She's a regular, good human being. She lives in LA. Don't hate on that. Whether you like LA or not, that's where she is. Erica, do you want me to spotlight you or no? No. Apparently the spotlighting thing isn't particularly popular, so I'm going to not do that. I'm going to mute everybody else. And when you're ready, we want to hear your story. Cool?
Cool.
It's the early 2000s, and the burgeoning indie rock scene is taking over the Lower East Side and Brooklyn. Bands like Interpol, The White Stripes, Yeah Yeah Yeahs are leading the way. The clubs are packed with hipsters, stick, skinny, rumpled, liberal arts educated 20-something guys in skinny jeans, girls in retro found by combing the racks of Goodwills. The size of a man's expansive vinyl collection, his main currency of worth. The size of a woman's diverse book collection, hers. We're at a loud party in Brooklyn. We sit out on a fire escape, sharing a joint that he had rolled for us. He looks as if Lenny Kravitz and Basquiat had a love child. He wears his favorite sweater with silver duct tape over the hole where his heart is. He is a drummer in an upcoming band called Sea Spray. They play the coolest venues in the city, like the Mercury Lounge, the Bowery Ballroom, and they're described by critics as more inventive than Coldplay, heart-stoppingly melodic and beautiful. I'm an actress. I'm described by casting directors as a Brittany Murphy type, sweet, funny, cute with a sex appeal while possessing grit. I've been mistaken for her, and once on an airplane, someone bought me a glass of champagne thinking I was her. Most recently, I starred in a short film called Window Girl. I play a window girl working in the red light district of Amsterdam. The director's vision is John Waters inspired, a transgressive cult film with elements of surrealism in grand David Lynchian style. Connor tells me that I am out of sight, and I made him feel all right. I say, I have a knack for destruction, and he says, good thing he digs construction. He calls me honeypot, and 3 weeks later, I move in with him. I take with me only what I can fit in the trunk of a taxi, because who needs things when you have love like ours? He puts me on the list at all the hard venues to get into. He makes music mixes on CDs for me with love songs. She Smiled Sweetly by the Stones, I'll Be Around by the Spinners, Fade Into You by Mazzy Star. After shows, we hit the dive bars like the Holiday Cocktail Lounge and kick back Jameson's, Neat, and chain smoke Marlboros, his reds, mine lights, till closing at 4 a.m. At dawn, as we fall to sleep with his arms around me, he sings softly in my ear our song, Big Stars 13, which asks, would you be an outlaw for our love? And I knew he would be. We live in this utter bliss. We are approaching our year anniversary. It's August 2003. It's late afternoon, and we're in bed watching Otis Redding's performance in a music documentary on the Monterey Pop Festival when suddenly all the power turns off. It's a sweltering day, and across all Manhattan and the boroughs, there's a massive blackout. We eat tuna salad sandwiches, drink Stella, and play rock and roll trivia by candlelight. For a lark, we write and record on his battery-powered Tascam 4-track cassette recorder an anthem to immortalize the night called Blackout. Sexual lunacy, renegade prophecy, liquor and nicotine, gonna make our own electricity. Yeah, blackout. After this night, for fun, we began writing and recording more songs. Connor called them the bedroom tapes. I never imagined a little over a year later where this innocent act of creativity would lead. Over the course of the next year, though, Connor starts touring often. He barely calls from the road, and when he does, he speaks of paradises like Los Angeles, palm trees, warm breezes, houses in the hills, neon signs, and marquees selling dreams. While I'm all alone, freezing in our apartment with a broken heater and a breaking heart, I have made Connor my whole life and neglected my own career, my friends, my network. All the late nights and heavy drinking and cigarettes have taken their toll on my mind. I'm not eating and I can't get out of bed. And I know what will solve everything. Connor and I should start a band together. We should take the bedroom tapes and shop them around. But Connor does not want to be in a band with his girlfriend. For one, I can't sing and I don't play an instrument, but I insist that I make up for it with charisma and catchy songs and lyrics. Connor insists that couples and bands are destined for doom. He points out Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac. I counter with Paul and Linda McCartney of Wings. We fight constantly. But just when I think all is lost, I am cast on a reality show in which my life is being documented 24 hours a day. Connor relents and we form the band, the Rayographs, named in homage to my favorite avant-garde photographer, Man Ray, and we start booking gigs. We're at Lit, a popular small diving music venue on 2nd Avenue in the East Village. I read once that the playwright Edward Albee got the title of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf from a collegiate bar bathroom door, but I'm too consumed with my appearance to take notice of genius other than my own perception of myself as I touch up my cherry red lips, scrunch my chopped bleached blonde hair, adjust my black tube dress, smooth my fishnets in homage to Debbie Harry of Blondie. There's a frantic knock on the door, a muffled voice, "You're on." I quickly down my Jameson's neat, welcoming the liquid courage, unsure of how much I had had. My heart races. I take a deep breath. I exit into the packed club. I make my way through the crowd. Tonight is the big night. Record executives from Madonna's label, Maverick, are supposed to be there to see me and Connor. As soon as I step on stage, the crowd goes wild. Connor begins, and the rest of the band joins for the intro. I come in late, and Connor shoots me a frustrated and disappointed look. Tonight, we are debuting what I know, despite Connor's doubt, what is going to be our huge hit single. Well, we never have a huge hit single. We did not get a record deal, possibly because it turns out, well, the record industry is very difficult to break into, but that wasn't the reason. Possibly because I can't sing or play an instrument. Or perhaps it's because the reality show where I thought my life was being documented, turns out it's all in my mind, just a figment of a warped reality made real by faulty chemicals. What I had come to find out is bipolar disorder, a mania. But I will forever carry the memory of rock stardom and my hit single, Flammable Nymphomaniac. I dirty dance, late night prance, I'll leave you in a trance. Make me burn, make me yearn, make my head turn. That's it.
She ends with lyrics, y'all.
Oh,
You ought to end it. If you can end with lyrics, do it. Most can't. Dude, did you know? Erica, thank you for that story. Number one. I can't tell you how curious Erica and I know each other. We've known each other for a while. I've heard a bunch of her stories, always very good. Nobody likes to say, well, the coda, right? Like you just told that story, beginning, middle, end, it's over. But I've got to tell you how curious I am about this guy. Where is he? Is he alive? I don't get to know. Damn. Did you also know how Brittany Murphy? Are you fucking kidding me?
I was so cute. I should show you. You never saw I have a picture of me.
Well, I
with
don't know.
hair.
All I'm saying is Brittany Murphy and I had a thing. Now, she didn't know about the thing, by the way, but I certainly did. We had a thing, man. God damn. I was so angry. You remember that show? She was in the Eminem movie,
Yeah, 8 Mile.
and she slept with the guy. And I was so angry.
There's some hot scenes in that movie.
I had no right being angry at a fictional movie, but I just was angry. And she was already like married. Like it was just very warped.
Oh, I'm
She's married in
sorry.
real life. She was doing that in fake life. And I was just like livid. I was livid. How dare you, Brittany? Who the fuck are you? If we only had a chance to meet. Thank you for using the word grit in your story, by the way.
Mhm.
Extra branding for me. Thank you for that, always. Quick little plug, by the way. We have a few other events. We don't know the next date of the 99 Second Story Slam, but that's going to come up, which is a very cool event. 99 Second Stories competition. You can win money. We've got an event coming up in December. I know it's a long way away. We had an event in last month that was all stories, not an open mic, curated stories around suicide. That went very well. Erica was one of the storytellers. We're going to do something else in December. I share that with you because if you are somebody who deals with that or has dealt with that and you want to entertain the idea of joining us for that event in December afterwards, let me know. I think all of you have a way to contact me. And the other thing that I think most people here know, but maybe not everyone, is I have a podcast, because I'm sharing this with you because we're talking about mental health stuff that I've had since July of 2020. It's called Suicide Noted. I speak with suicide attempt survivors. It's been absolutely amazing and enlightening and really incredible experience. So if you want to listen to that, and I don't try to plug my shit in a weird way, but if that type of conversation might help you in some way, listen to it. And if it's something that you've dealt with in your life and you want to talk about it, reach out to me. Maybe we could talk about it. So, yeah. Our final storyteller, I believe this Sunday evening, has a cool name. So curious about your Beril Ozay. What an interesting name.
Thank you. It's Turkish.
Oh my God, you just took away my entire thunder. I was going to say that.
Really, I'm so sorry. I'm apologizing.
No, I'm just playing. It has a Turkish vibe feel to it for sure. Yeah. No one here. That's not why we're here, though. This isn't the ethnicity and heritage open mic. This is the mental health Happyish hour open mic. You are a final storyteller. I love that you're here. I love that you're willing and open to sharing a story. So when you're ready, the stage is yours, bro.
All right. First of all, I loved Erica's story, and I hate that I have to follow that beautiful, amazing. What? You're
good. You're good. Yeah. You're good.
So mine is gonna be more freeform. I had zero intention of speaking up today, so we'll kind of see where it goes. I'll try to keep it kind of condensed.
Yeah. It's perfect. Awesome.
All right. So I never thought about what old age would look like for me. Because I always knew in my head that I probably wouldn't make it there. Ever since I was a teenager, I dealt with mental health, and it was compounded only by repeated trauma, as trauma does. When it rains, it pours, right? And even in my 20s, well into my 20s, late 20s and early 30s, I always knew in my mind that I was probably going to die by suicide at some point in time. And it wasn't for a lack of trying, right? I had a therapist, I had several medical providers, I had people I worked with very regularly, and it was medication after medication after medication. And every time it was, okay, we found the magic one. This is the one that's going to work this time. And if you guys have ever experienced this really fun journey of mental health medication, what happens is you board on for 2 weeks, you see what happens, and then you got to wean off for 2 weeks. And that's kind of like the bare minimum. So every medication trial lasts minimally 1 to 3 months. So, one of them I had, and it was, it kind of took away all emotions. It took away my desire to eat. It took away my desire to, my motivation to go to work, to do anything. I barely got myself out of bed, and I would come home and I would crash at 5, and I wouldn't get up till 8 o'clock the next morning to go to work. And that went on for 4 months. And after that, I got on Prozac, and that was the miracle drug. And what happened is I immediately, after like a week, I started feeling better. Another week passed, and I'm feeling really good. And I am on top of the world. I'm cured. Everything is amazing. I can't wait to go to work. I can't wait to, talk to my friends, and I can't wait to deal with my patients. And it's awesome. And I'm cured. And I'm so happy because I have been hopeless for 15 years. And then I start feeling a little less excited about life. I start feeling, normal maybe, right? It feels calm, but it's still okay. And I'm just kind of like, all right, okay, maybe I went up and now I'm just evening out. But I start sliding back down again. And, and the suicidal thoughts start coming back into my mind, and I'm going to work and I'm like, oh, I just crashed this car and it would be over. And what I haven't mentioned is I work in mental health, and I had a patient, and I'll never forget this. She was in her 40s, and I over-identified with this patient because she had been through the same journey. Nothing works, no medication, none of the treatments work. And she's crying her eyes out, bawling to me. And she's like, I'm so tired of fighting. I'm so tired. I cannot go on. And that hit me, and it, for probably a few weeks, I just thought that's going to be me. I just know it. I just know I'm going to be in my late 40s, and I'm going to be so tired, and I don't want that for myself. And eventually, I came across this very, very smart physician who asked me all the right questions. And she asked me, she said, have you ever been manic? And I said, no, I don't think so. And what I didn't know at that time was that mania isn't always, I'm on top of the world, I'm invincible. Sometimes it's crawling out of your skin, and just destroying your whole life and moving to Philadelphia and not being able to do that and moving to Baltimore. And sometimes it's just, I cannot exist in this space. I can't exist in this body. And I didn't know that. And so she said, I think you might be on the bipolar spectrum. And I think the reason why these medications haven't worked all this time is because you're not on the right class of medications. And she offered me another medication, an antipsychotic. It's kind of new in the market. And we'd had genetic testing done. And, when you're in a deep, dark place, and when you're this close from death, it feels like, when you're holding on by a thread that is so thin for months, and you're so tired of fighting, you will take anything anybody gives you. And I said, great, okay, fine, let's try it. And, then I start kind of coming out of this funk, and a week passes by, and I'm no longer thinking about crashing my car every time I get into it. Another week passes by, and I start going to, to see my friends. Another week passes by, and now I am socializing in the world. And, I'm excited, but I'm very cautious because we've seen this before. We know the up and down. So, but I keep taking it, and I keep taking the drug. And A month passes, 2 months pass, 3 months pass, and I'm fine. Now we're a year in, and I've been stable for a year, and I no longer think that I'm going to die by suicide. And I'm hoping that I will get to see my 70s and 80s and be that crazy lady that has purple hair and hot pink lipstick and leopard print clothes and just goes around and dances and and you know, and can be a beacon of light and fun for other people in her 80s. The end.
And wow. Thank you, Beril. You know, well, you would know this because of this, but I have dreams of having purple hair. A lot of people don't know that about me. That was a beautiful story. Thank you. And I don't know if this, I mean, I know this is a story open mic. When I say like story, it doesn't even quite sound right. Like it was just like really, thank you for sharing that. You know what I mean? It's like nice, nice. What I like most, and I know that story is very much a craft, but I fucking love honesty. Not just like retelling facts accurately, like emotional. Now, some of you could have been bullshitting us and we won't know, but I get the sense you were, and I love that. I really appreciate that. The trust in that, yeah. I always think we need more of that. You got me thinking, Beril, about myself. I gotta tell you, because I don't think I've never been diagnosed. This is getting maybe a little bit weird, but I don't mind sharing at all. You all showed so much. I've never been diagnosed with anything other than, you know, your standard, like, what's the word for dysthymia? You know, it's like, all right, we don't know what you are. We'll just say you're dysthymic. They're like, yeah, whatever. Or you have anxiety. It's like, no shit. But I've always been somebody to, okay, I'm done here. I got to go there. I'm done here. I got to go there. I'm done here. I got to go there. It got me thinking. Doesn't mean I'm that, but I'm like, oh, I love the way you framed. I'm not analyzing your story, but something really, I was like, ooh, it's so interesting and valuable. And like the person who asks the right questions, you know, like, yeah. Because I've had good therapists and like, still like, oh no, ask me better questions.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much. What I want to do now, and of course, by the way, so what I'm going to do, I should have said this earlier. So I want you to let me know. I've been recording. I wasn't doing this in any sort of nefarious or manipulative way. I do record these because I think they're important that the world hears them. But let me know if you don't want anyone in the world to ever see this. Just please message me here or elsewhere. And no one will know. No one has to see it. I'll stop the recording now, and you'll hear it probably, the recording is